All right, and welcome back to another episode of Johnny on the Track. We got just audio today, but that won't stop what's going to be an amazing show. The guest and I were actually talking before the show here, and I was just telling him we've been trying to get a NASCAR gamer on this show for quite some time. So I am super excited to have him on the show. He drove in the eNASCAR Heat Pro League on PlayStation for Team Penske. He is Corey Rothgeb. Corey, thanks for joining me, man.
Yeah, man, happy to be here.
So let's get right into it. So I want to know, like, obviously you did the NASCAR Heat League gaming, but were you a NASCAR fan growing up, or is this kind of just something like you enjoyed playing the games or whatnot? Talk to me about, if growing up, if you were a NASCAR fan.
Yeah, so I've been a NASCAR fan pretty much all my life. I've been in races. I have pictures of me at the racetrack at 5 years old, 6 years old, whatever it was. I was a big Terry Labonte fan back then. I think it was because of Tony the Tiger as a kid.
Of course, yeah.
But yeah, so I've been a NASCAR fan my entire life and followed the sport, gone to a gazillion races at Richmond, and at Martinsville and Bristol. So.
Well, that's cool, man. So with that, how did you get into like gaming? Like, are you a NASCAR Thunder 2003 guy? Like, how long have you been doing like NASCAR racing?
Yeah, so I've bought a NASCAR game pretty much every year that it came out. But as far as hardcore gaming in NASCAR, I've more or less just played any sports game. The Madden, 2K. College football when that was out. So any sports game I really played, and NASCAR was a game that I bought every year, but I never really considered myself a pro at it or really over the top good at it. I never really did any online racing either. I kind of just stuck to career mode and stuff like that. But I've bought the game for as long as I can remember. Anytime there's been one, I know there was a gap where we didn't have a NASCAR game for a while. But anyone that has came out, I have played. And I also used to, as a kid, hit up the NASCAR Racing 2003 season on PC. My dad had a wheel and pedals. And so whenever he wasn't on that, I would try to jump on that and play.
That's awesome. Yeah, man. Like I'm with you. I love playing the NASCAR games. I've played them. I played quite a bit, all the way back, like I said, to Thunder 2003, pretty much all the way up to what we've got now with Ignition. But I'm same as you too. Like I play a lot of FIFA, played a lot of 2K growing up. Madden I played for a while, but the games now are just terrible. I hope that doesn't offend you or anything, but yeah, I mean, it feels like they haven't made an update to their product since like 2011. But anyway, so now take me then to, you said you didn't really do a lot of online racing. You pretty much just played it to play it. So then when did that transition happen to when you thought like, okay, this is something I could pursue in some sort of like a league fashion?
Yeah, so they announced a couple months early about the Pro League coming out, and that they were going to start qualifiers. So at the time I had been on, I can't remember which game it was, the NASCAR Heat game, but it was 2 or 3 maybe. But I had been playing that, but like I said, I had never done any online racing, never built a setup. I did everything like career mode presets, stuff like that.
Yeah, just to play it to play. Yeah.
Yeah. So once they announced that was coming out, I started to just join into some online races and, search for some online leagues. And I ended up getting connected with a few guys. Slade, he drove for Wood Brothers for both seasons. And guys like that, just started getting connected with them and started dabbling into the online racing and kind of had to start at the lower series because obviously nobody knew my name. And then just started learning how to build setups and start from there. And then the connections that I was able to make with that and the knowledge gained through building setups and stuff in those first couple of months right before the first original qualifiers was crucial in being able to raise my talent level to be able to make the pro league.
Right. And so like, how does it come about when, like you're racing for Team Penske? So how does that like come about?
As far as the league itself.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah. Again, I wouldn't at the time, I wouldn't consider myself one of the best because I didn't know everybody that was on the game. I had just met a small group of guys that played it. Come to find out, a lot of those guys ended up making the pro league. But going into that first that draft that they had at Phoenix Raceway, didn't really know what to expect. I really didn't expect to hear my name called. But then that entire day of watching the draft and eventually hearing Joe call my name on the stage was pretty surreal.
That's
And
crazy.
yeah, and then after that, it was just kind of everything took off. Met a bunch of people that I never expected to meet, talk to them, have had their phone numbers. Just a really cool experience from that day. But before that, I really, again, didn't do much online racing, didn't really expect much from it, but figured, and I told my parents, I was like, I already played the game anyway. I might as well try it out and try to make it as a pro, being that I already play it. So fortunately, it did work out, and I was blessed enough to have that opportunity.
So was that, because I would say, like, to my knowledge, right, that was like the premier league for NASCAR Heat. Isn't that correct?
Yeah. So they have the iRacing League, which is really taken off.
Right. Yeah. And that's like, to me, I consider that so much different, but I feel like iRacing compared to the Heat series is just a whole different beast,
It is, and a lot of people do try to compare the two and say that one's a simulation, and they would be correct that iRacing is more of a simulator because NASCAR Heat has been a video game and will always be a video game.
Right.
But yeah, as far as the console, the NASCAR Heat Pro League is the only league that NASCAR was associated with.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
that's awesome, man. That is so cool. And just to hear, like, seeing the draft and like hearing your name called like that really is something cool, especially when, like, what I'm gathering, like, you were doing this like so nonchalant. You're like, I'll try it. I'll see where it takes me, and then your name gets called in the on stage. That's really cool, man. So yeah. So let's go now with that, right? You told me before the show that we don't know where this league is at this point. Do you know the status of if this is going to resume? Because like I said, I thought it was a really cool thing to watch, especially for someone who enjoys racing the game and just watching like people play it. It really was an interesting watch. So tell me, like, where is this right now?
yes. So we haven't really heard anything, and I don't have any behind the scenes details to give anybody, but I'm hoping that it continues, and regardless whether or not I still have a part in it, I think that it was headed in the right direction.
Yeah, I agree.
And some of the Twitter warriors might not have the same viewpoint, but from a driver standpoint, I believe that we were headed in the right direction, and I think that the new game also is headed in the right direction as far as the pro league. But there are some things that kind of limit us and don't enable us to have a league currently. So it's kind of up in the air. We don't really know. We got to see where the developers decide to go with the game and what they decide to add and what the teams decide to do, and then we'll just figure it out from there.
So before we talk about the new game, and that is something that I had on my calendar for a while, is to talk the new game with a guy, with someone that knows this industry. But before we do that, I was talking before the show with you. that I did a league that raced every week, and there was this one guy. We'll shout out Blake Thomas. I believe he's still a supporter of the show. Man, he was so much faster than everyone else. And I was pretty good. I'll be honest. I ran top 10, top 5 most of the races. But yeah, one of the things I always wondered was like, first of all, how do you realize that you're good at this, one? And then two, how do you get a competitive advantage so much larger than just like an average user? How are you able to get that? I assume it's probably from setups, right? But I mean, there's got to be some skill, right?
Yeah. So the big thing is setups. With NASCAR Heat, you were able to do your custom setups.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have that on Ignition yet, but with NASCAR Heat, it was just about building the setups and then just the hours and hours that you put into it, learning the different lines at each track, and what the fastest line was. Because although you can say to run the bottom at the 1.5-mile tracks, there's a way that you can arc it in and maximize your speed and maximize your lap time. So really just hours and hours of practice and fine tuning setups and figuring out your tire wear down to the 1 or 2% and maximizing your tire wear and getting your even tires. So there's a lot of practice that went into it. And then, I mean, obviously a little bit of skill, being able to race around people, hold a steady wheel and not take out the entire field.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it was that was one thing I didn't do. So thank goodness to that I wasn't the guy taking out the entire field. We had quite a bit of wrecks, but I would like to put it on the record here that I was not responsible for most of those wrecks, Corey. So that's always a good thing. But all right, let's transition to the new game. So actually on my channel, I do have some for people to check out some new gameplay, some patch reviews, some just typical content for the new game. I'll kind of go first of what I think. I'll give it to you quick, and then you can tell me your thoughts and where you think it should go. So for me, to be honest with you, I think the base product of what they have, of how the cars drive, the visuals and that sort of thing are pretty good. I genuinely do believe that. However, at the same time, I do think a lot of this game was rushed. The fact that we went pretty much almost a month with no cautions, and the AI just driving like pretty much, and like I say, like you just said, guys wrecking the whole field. I mean, that's literally what the AI was like in that game. And I know they've made some patch updates that I think have helped. I still think there's a lot more to go. Like for instance, right, one of the things you mentioned, like you really couldn't even do a league right now because I don't think there's still private lobbies. On top of that too, like you can't even, which I thought was really cool in NASCAR Heat, is you could take your whole your custom paint scheme, put it into online racing. That they haven't added. I know they have a really cool paint booth, which is another positive for the game. But the fact that you can't even put that in online yet is also difficult. So overall, I think the base product is good. I think what they have framework wise is good. But there's so much that this game needs to improve on. And I think it's kind of stealing right now that they're still charging $60-70 for that, Corey. But I'll that's my brutally honest opinion. So I'll let you go of like kind of pros, cons, and then where you think this game could go.
Yeah. So, as the Pro League guys, we kind of had a lot of input into, what we thought that future games could use and what fixed and stuff. So a lot of the issues that we did bring up were addressed. The physics in the new game are leaps and bounds better.
Yeah, I agree.
But the contact between cars and you don't necessarily have that bubble glitch anymore where you can actually race close to one another without wrecking the other guy. And then the energy transfer at super speedways in the draft is phenomenal in the current. So they addressed a lot of the stuff that we brought up. I think the visuals look better. The paint booth, I know a lot of guys brought that up. Not me personally, I could care less. But uh, um, I feel like we left a lot of stuff out in order to get those things into the game. And we knew that this game was being worked on in season one. Um, so we knew that this game was coming down the road like 2 years ago.
Wow.
So there was a lot of things, like I said, they addressed a lot of the issues that we said for them, that we suggested to address, but then leaving out the private lobbies, especially with how big that online league racing has got on the
Yeah.
console, was a big major mishap. Because I know for myself and Slade, we actually run a rather decent PlayStation league, and we had it on NASCAR Heat 5. We ended our season, with the new game getting ready to come out. We took about a couple month break. Then the game comes out and there's no private lobbies, so we have zero way to have an online league right now. So that was a big issue. And then the second major issue, as far as having a pro league, is the custom setups. A
Yeah.
lot of guys like to spend the time because, like me and you talked about earlier, that's really how you set yourself apart. Anybody can take a preset 5, and as long as you know how to hold a line on the bottom, be somewhat competitive. But when you build a setup and you have to know what to adjust, how to maximize your speed, maximize your tire wear, that's really what sets the pros apart from everybody else. So not having private lobbies and not having custom setups was really the two biggest things for me. I know people like the custom paint schemes and want to use them online. And then there's the rearview mirror kind of issue that we need a rearview mirror that we don't
Yeah.
have.
Yeah.
But again, as far as me wanting to see the pro league continue, and online league racing continue in general, the biggest issues for me are the private lobbies and the custom setups. But again, outside of that, I think that the base game is fantastic and it's exactly in the direction that we were trying to get them to go. But we just can't leave out that big of a detail in order to get there.
So I guess then my next question would be for you, with kind of like I know you've seen it, the negative press, and like you said, the Twitter warriors just going after this game. Do you think people have already given up or given up on it too quickly for it to really rebound? Or do you think, no, I think if they make a lot of these edits, people, the people that do see the good in the game will help spread it.
Um, I don't think it's too far. I think that a lot of the people you see bashing the game were already looking to bash the game before it even came out. A lot of people were fed up with the Heat series.
Which I don't know
And,
why, because I enjoyed the Heat series, to be honest with you.
yeah, I mean, and again, the Heat wasn't that bad now that you look back at it. But there were definitely things that, in order to continue to grow, that needed to be addressed. And they slightly missed the mark with the new game. But again, I don't think anything is unfixable, right? So we have one NASCAR game. And so if anybody even wants to play a NASCAR game outside of iRacing, but on a console, if you want to play a NASCAR game, if they get it right, those people will come back. But I think that a lot of people that you see talking bad about the game were already looking for something to talk bad about the game, and didn't really ever give it a fair shot. Which, again, I acknowledge that they do have a point, and I see where people are coming from. But I also acknowledge that this team behind the developers and stuff are working hard to fix those issues, and that they do have an idea of where we're trying to go with it.
Yeah, hey, I look, I like your attitude on that. I agree with you. I think it's not too late. Like I said, I agree. I think it's a good base game. If they polish some stuff up, they've got a fan in me for sure. So that's good. So we always like to play a little fun game, do some fun things at the end. So kind of what I want to do is basically just ask you some questions of, your experience racing. So first, we'll go with the Heat series. What was your favorite track to race on and why?
Well, that's a no-brainer. um, Phoenix. I don't.
Phoenix.
I can't exactly pinpoint why. Probably because I had a really good setup there, so I felt really good. But if you look back at season 1 and season 2, I ran well there both seasons. The second year I wasn't in contention for the championship, but I finished top 5, and that was against all 28 drivers in season 2. And then I finished P3, I believe, in season 1. But yeah, for some reason, just the off throttle time, the throttle control, just the way that track drove on the heat games was phenomenal, and the way that you were able to race, and the tire management, the different comers and goers. You have a long run. That was one of the tracks that you legit had a short run, long run car.
Yeah.
And I loved having a long run car and being able to fly through the field at the end of a long fuel run.
That's good. That's awesome. So the way we'll do it, we'll go back and forth. So Phoenix for me too. I enjoyed like going super low down on the apron there by the start finish. That was always fun. And yeah, I enjoy it. My favorite one though from Heat has to be Atlanta. Just going throttle down all the way. Do not pick your finger up off the trigger or your foot off the pedal. Basically the whole way around. I thought Atlanta always drove fun. It was pretty easy for most people. So I was a big fan of Atlanta. Let's now take it to your worst / least favorite track.
That one might be a little bit tougher. I have to think about that one.
All right, so that's fine. You take some thoughts on it. I'll go first.
Okay.
I gotta say Darlington, just because when you mention like taking that high line, that is one thing you do have to do at Darlington. And while I was able to do it at tracks like Michigan and Atlanta, for some reason, dude, me and that wall at Darlington, that was tough. That was difficult. So for me, look, did I enjoy playing it? Yeah, it was fun to do Darlington. But man, I was not very good at Darlington, that's for sure. So that's it for me. What do you got? Come on, you got to give us something.
So I was thinking about tracks, but in general, my least favorite is any road course. I hated road courses. I was terrible at them. I ended up managing to somehow get some good finishes there. But outside of Watkins Glen, any other road course, I would just assume never race there in my life.
Yeah, man, those things are hard. And too, like if in the event that you spun out, it was pretty much game over. Like it really was. It was pretty much game over.
And I was really good at building a setup for a road course, except for on the heat games, everybody would maximize corner cutting. And I had I was actually trying to keep it on the track. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I was the whole getting a really fast lap because people were cutting this corner, cutting that corner. The grass at this track actually drives like asphalt. It's not actually grass, stuff like that.
Right.
That I could never figure out. I was trying to keep my car on the track, had a great setup to stay on the asphalt, but that wasn't the fastest way to do it.
All right. So final one. And this actually will probably require you to think a little bit.
All right.
But let's go, right? Dream situation. You get a car manufacturer. So you pick Chevy, Ford, Toyota. You could even go old if you want, Pontiac or something like that, maybe Dodge. But let's stick with the new three. The number you're taking, and then a sponsor of choice. You got that?
I got it.
All right. You want to go first?
You go first. I'll think about it.
All right. I'll go first. I'm gonna do Chevy. I think a lot of my favorite drivers right now in the sport are Chevy. I got to go with my birthday number 27, and then if I'm taking a sponsor, man, I always love the way the Monster Energy logo looks on a car. So I will take Monster Energy. However, if I'm taking something from the game, it's got to be Phil Swift and the Flex Seal. The Flex Seal, I mean, come on, you can't beat the Flex Seal. But
Yeah.
I'll go Chevy 27 Monster Energy. Corey, what do you got for us?
All right, so I'm going to stick with the Ford. I really like Ford's look. And as far as number, probably number 3, because
Good
that's
choice.
what I was in sports all along. Little league to high school, baseball, basketball, football, number 3.
Sure.
So that's been my number. And then sponsor would definitely, without a doubt, be Body Armor.
Wow. All right. Okay.
So
Little Ryan Blaney action there.
Dude, love Body Armor. I loved Body Armor before I was with Penske. And then, so when we would go to the tracks, they had the coolers. I would always go to Blaney's hauler because they had Body Armor in the. And so, yeah. And I think that there's some great schemes that could be done if they would do like individual flavor schemes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Kind of M&Ms and Skittles and them with Kyle Busch, how they do like the M&M caramel and all that. Body Armor would just do a blackout berry scheme. I feel like
sweet.
It would be a really good scheme.
The typical ones they do now with Blaney, they do have a cool like fade almost, like how it fades from, I think it's like yellow to like purplish pink kind of thing. Yeah, that's really cool. So I like that, man. I like that. So Ford, number 3, Body Armor for Corey. And again, I go Chevy 27 Monster Energy for me here. What'd you think, man? That was a game I kind of just came up with right before I got you on. I think it'd be cool, to talk about kind of your experience and tie it all together,
Yeah, that was definitely cool. That was fun.
Good. That's what we like to hear here. All right, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on. Like I said, we've been trying to get some sort of a gamer who races the NASCAR games on this show for quite some time. So I really appreciate you coming on. And yeah, man, we'll keep in touch. Hey, if you ever, I also am on PlayStation. So if you ever looking for something on Ignition or Heat, let me know, and I'll give you I'll give you the best of what I can. Maybe I can take you down in Atlanta, but probably not.
Yeah, it sounds good, man. That definitely sounds good.
All right, awesome, man. Take care. This has been Johnny on the track. We had Corey on the show, and hey, man, we're waiting for that Heat series to come back. Well, it might be Ignition now, but
yeah, you and me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right, man. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Bye.